The last election, we could blame Europe for migration if we thought it was too high. Now we can't. We have to blame the government. And that's exactly what the BBC is encouraging people to do. It's exactly what the government is encouraging us to do, in fact. It's certainly what Suella Braverman has been encouraging us to do, to blame the government, to see the government as the party, as the authority that cannot control migration. David Cameron said he would get it down to the tens of thousands, but it's way up in the uh, 672,000 at the moment. But it could be even higher. It depends on how you do the calculations. So the problem is that there are parts of this country which are crying out for extra labour, for migration. Scotland is one of those parts of the country. And yet, Westminster is bellyaching about controlling migration. At the same time, universities and schools are crying out for the support and the larger money that is paid by people from abroad coming here to do their studies in the UK, where we claim it's better. There's some argument about that at the moment because our education system is being so pulled apart by interference from government, from Ofsted, and by the overblown bureaucracy, which means teachers actually can no longer do their jobs. It's not. It's got parallels, of course, with the NHS and with medicine. The bureaucracy has got so out of control that doctors and nurses can no longer do their jobs. And in fact, once they've been trained and once they've had a taste of the misery that's on offer, they go and work elsewhere. Because it's not about money. It's about the sheer insanity. I was going to say inanity, but I've added the S. The sheer insanity of the expectations and working conditions where the paperwork is more important than the job. And we need to do something about that. The paperwork in government suggests that migration is out of control. But actually, that's more important to the government than the reality. The reality is that businesses are calling out for people who are qualified, who can do the job. And the jobs aren't getting done. Particularly when you come to farming, there are entire crops which are being abandoned now, which are no longer being grown, because we don't have the labour force, the migrant labour force, the moving labour force, literally, that is to hand to pick the crops, to take the heads off the tulips, and then later, a few weeks later, to pick up all the bulbs and then sort them. We don't have the man force to be able to do that. So, for example, the tulip bulb industry in Lincolnshire died overnight, partly because of the bureaucracy of Europe, but partly because of our own flourishing bureaucracy, which has not been trimmed back after leaving mainland Europe. Brexit has not trimmed our bureaucracy. In fact, if anything, Brexit has inflated our bureaucracy. We've simply taken on the bureaucracy that was at one point delegated to Brussels. We have got it all now in London. And it's been multiplying under the tutelage of Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, Theresa May. These people who have had their fingers in the Home Office, whether before or after Brexit. And we've got to do something about it. Migration isn't the problem. The problem is living in the UK. The problem isn't coming to the UK. The problem is staying here. The problem isn't whether we are in Europe or out of Europe. The problem is that we're in the UK. And we've got to learn to live with what we've got. And I think at the moment we're throwing everything overboard because of some ideology and some obsession, or as Suella Braverman put it, her dream. And in the end, you can't run your life on dreams. You run your life on aspirations, on hopes, on optimism, but not on some dream that you've had in the middle of the night. A dream that you've had in the middle of the night is the waste bin of your imagination. The dream that you have while you're sitting at your desk trying to work out what to do. Now that's of value. But waking up thinking about Rwanda, that's a nightmare.